Do you feel like your real estate agent is asking you some pretty personal questions that you're not sure are required for them to help you purchase a home? Well, I agree with you that I'm not sure I'd be comfortable supplying certain details to a salesperson like me. But that does not mean it's not my job to ask those questions. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. But before I tell you about the most uncomfortable question I'll ask you if you were buying a property, there's a little easier question for me to ask you, and that's if you learn anything here in today's video, could you please hit the like button and help me get this information out to other people just like you looking to learn more about real estate in Canada. And if you yourself would like to learn more about real estate here in my market of Surrey and the Fraser Valley, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And as always, if you have any questions about the market, you can book a call with me right now down below in the description with just a few simple clicks at a time that works best for you. And now let's get on to me asking you something that I don't even know I'd be comfortable answering myself. You see, since about 2015, when everyone started assuming that money laundering might be the only reason why house prices in Vancouver started to soar, almost every governing body has tried to clamp down on illegal funds entering the housing market. As agents, our part in this has been to ask you, the buyer or seller in any transaction, for government issue ID to prove you are who you say you are, both so we know you're not trying to buy a property with a fake name, but also that you're not trying to pretend to be somebody else in order to sell a property that doesn't belong to you. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone seems to agree that this is a pretty reasonable step in order to assure that everyone is who they say they are in any given real estate transaction. So then we take down that information, and the agent's brokerage or company is required to hold on to that information in case the government ever comes knocking, trying to find a financial criminal or terrorist. Yep, you heard that right. And certain media outlets, such as the Toronto Star, have even gone so far as to blame real estate agents, much like myself, for not doing enough to stop terrorism. Often it's criticized that FINTRAC, or the government organization that's responsible for all this stuff, costs taxpayers upwards of $50 million a year to run. And apparently that's money well spent, because once they caught 3 hosers in Nova Scotia defrauding the people of that province out of $3 million worth of lobster.
That's a lot of lobster.
But more often than not, the actual time the government comes to look at that paperwork is to simply audit the forms. Then they get to fine the real estate brokerages for not filling out something as simple as the country that the transaction took place in, when all of the rest of the address is clearly printed on the form. Because who knows, maybe there's another 123 Smith Street in Toronto, M4S1A9 in Iran or North Korea that a provincially licensed realtor in Canada would take part in. But now every agent in Canada, like me, who's not even educated in post-secondary, has been deemed the new 007. Well, a few years back, a new form was added to make this process even more secure for Canadians. And that form is called the Receipt of Funds Record. And this is where things start to get a little bit strange and uncomfortable for everyone involved. Now, this form is to be filled out by any realtor working for a buyer when they are receiving a deposit for a purchase. In other words, the government is now stepping up tracking of your banking, not by requiring the bank to fill out this form, but yes, you now have to give your banking info to your real estate agent. To illustrate what I mean, let's pop in so I can show you the form and exactly what I mean. Here is the Receipt of Funds Record. A super simple form for the most part. Not that tough to fill out, but you tell me down below in the comments if you would be comfortable answering some of these questions. So, and I guess really I'm the one filling it out. The agent is the one filling it out. Transaction property address. Easy, right? You're doing a transaction, we can say which property you're buying. Me and my brokerage, what we have to fill out there, the date of which we did it. Now, I'm not against this part. It's been here for quite some time. The amount of funds and the currency of funds. So I don't know. I personally have never received any sort of a deposit in anything other than Canadian dollars, but I understand the date you received the funds and then how it was received. Now, check, certified check, cash. I mean, maybe it happens. I've never seen it. Bank draft is 99%. The other is not e-transfer, sorry. Wire transfer. I've never seen an e-transfer yet, or other. I don't know how you could other that. But then you have to say which one of those it was. Now, in BC, almost every single deposit ever is paid with a bank draft to the brokerage. So you would pay it if you were my buyer. You would make it out to Macdonald Realty, and we would deposit that in trust for closing, and then funds would be transferred to lawyers closer to the closing date. Almost always. I would never do a check, or I guess you could, but Macdonald Realty is awesome, and they wouldn't accept. Method of receipt: in person, mail, electronically. Purpose of funds. Purpose of funds. Let me say that one more time. Purpose of funds. Real estate agents, we have to write down why we received the funds. Well, every single time ever, the deposit's the only person or the only being paid by the buyer, so it's for the purchase of a property. Okay, this is one of the things we get audited on. For funds not, I guess if you're not taking Canadian dollars, you need an exchange rate. Then there's actually a spot if you took more than one deposit. Okay, so I don't know why you would ever take more than one deposit, but you could. Then we could break it down here. Now, this is the part where this is uncomfortable. And I don't know if personally I would be ever in a situation where I would provide this information to other people. I'm required to ask you for your account number, where it came out of, who the holder is on that account. So, for instance, if you're a first-time buyer and your mom and dad are actually providing you the deposit, I need their bank account number, right? So this is so FINTRAC can go back and make sure you're not a money launderer or a terrorist. I don't know how many money launderers or terrorists they've ever caught with this. I'm assuming zero, well, except for those lobster guys we talked about earlier. Then I have to ask you what type of account that is. So yes, indeed, it is important that you know your bank account number and legally supply it. Now, here's the thing I don't think you're required to. However, I am required to ask. So yes, it's true. Your real estate agent everywhere in Canada is required to ask you for your bank account number when purchasing a home. And no, I'm not sure I would personally be comfortable giving out that information. I guess you could refuse. And then your realtor, who is supposed to be keeping your information 100% confidential under fiduciary duty, is supposed to maybe even then report you to the government, because you not providing banking information to the government might classify you as needing to be reported as a suspicious transaction. Crazy, right? Well, let me leave you with this. There's something even crazier. In a further effort to help curb money laundering, the powers that be put together a course to teach us real estate agents here in BC how to identify money laundering better and report it to the government, which then breaches the client's confidentiality and is a good reason why lawyers don't actually have to comply with FINTRAC. But guess what? It did even better than that. It taught all the dummies in the industry like me who had no thought of ever laundering money and actually had no idea on how to do it, exactly how to launder money and the easy ways to avoid detection. Another amazing move by the powers that be in BC real estate. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Please remember to subscribe and click the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and we'll see you in a couple of days.